to the first ever edition of Sock Puppet Scientist. This week we're going to talk about a really interesting parasite infection that's more common than you might realize. Toxoplasmosis. Toxoplasmosis is a protozoan parasitic infection caused by Toxoplasma gondii. The three main ways of getting this infection is eating undercooked meat, transmission from infected mother to infant, and by contamination of an animal we all know and love, the cat. While the infection can live in humans and other animals, cats are the only known host in which the organism can complete its reproductive cycle. Now getting into some of the technical stuff, is known to strongly affect pregnant women and can cause pregnancy loss or severe disease in newborn babies, including developmental issues, blindness, or epilepsy. For most humans infected after infancy, the disease is symptomless, with mild fever or swollen lymph nodes being the most severe symptoms. However, research is being done to observe the correlation of toxoplasmosis with risk of psychiatric diseases, including schizophrenia, which we'll talk about later, bipolar, and memory impairment. Now that we've gotten past the technical stuff, let's talk about what makes toxoplasma so interesting. It's one of the most interesting because the studies have shown it can manipulate the behavior of its hosts. It doesn't turn them into zombies just yet, but it's been mentioned in many other video games and movies and stuff. But for now, the most interesting effect it has is the effect it has on things we know as mice. Since toxoplasma can only reproduce in the digestive tract of a cat, right in there, once a cat passes it as feces, it needs to find a way back into its cat. And since cats don't eat their own poop,
brush your teeth. That's better.
Since cats don't find their own poop, he has to find a new way. The parasite in the feces contaminates soil, which can either be ingested by rodents or carried around until it infects one. Once a rodent is infected, the toxoplasma alters its reaction to cat urine. Rodents are naturally terrified of cat urine, which makes sense because they're predators. But a rodent infected with toxo are actually attracted to the smell of cat urine. And a cat that finds mice tends to eat mice. The parasite ends up back where it can actually reproduce. What's more impressive is that other than changing how the rodent reacts to the smell, rats are otherwise normal. Toxoplasma takes control of the amygdala, which is a part of the brain that controls fear. It also has a gene to release dopamine, which is how it reprograms mice to like a smell they instinctually feel. Some other interesting connections between schizophrenia. Schizophrenia is actually often a result of too high levels of dopamine. If you take a rodent and give it drugs used to treat schizophrenia, the rodent stops being attracted to cat urine. Now, some studies believe that due to the way we use fertilizer, toxo can sneak into the stomachs of grazing cows and goats. If you ever eaten any of these undercooked meats, then you'll get the parasite in your brain as well. And since cats are such common to keep as pets, it's guessed that almost a third of the global population has this parasite dormant. Look how cute they are. It's actually more common in impoverished countries with poor sanitation standards. The effect is currently being studied on men, and the only thing seems to be shown is that the men have a little more impulsive and reckless, usually due to increased testosterone production. And what makes it more interesting is there's a few studies that suggest it may even have something to do with succeeding in a global sport, soccer. Kick. The World Cup of Soccer. Studies looking back at the 2010 World Cup found that all 8 knockout round winners were teams from countries with the highest rate of toxo infection. And in 2006, it was 7 out of the 8 winners, and the one exception was a match between teams of equal infection rates. Brazil, the winningest team in World Cup history, has over 60% infection rate in their country. 8 of the last World Cup winners have had infection rates close to or above 50% of the population. In a league that has strict bans on testosterone supplements, toxoplasmosis might be an inadvertent form of blood doping. The studies aren't conclusive, but it certainly has interesting correlations, and it's not enough is known about the parasite to begin to recommend it to anybody intentionally becoming infested, but in a world full of parasites, Toxoplasma gondii might be one of the most successful and definitely one of the most interesting. That's all for today's show of Sock Puppet Scientist. Hope you found the information useful. Yay!